TV. Paula Roy's Favorite Foods is made possible with the help of Farm Boy. It's all about the food.
Isn't it just the most satisfying feeling to be able to prep a meal in advance and then have just a little bit of work to get it ready and on the table? I love recipes like that, and today I'm going to show you 3 that are full of flavor. When I was first introduced to this dish called larb, I was told that it's the national dish of the country Laos, and its name literally means spicy meat salad. There's probably thousands of ways to prepare it, and today I'm going to show you my version. So we're going to start here on the stove top. We've got some ground chicken that we've seared, and it's perfectly cooked. Not really a lot of seasoning in there, just a little salt and pepper. Now we're going to add our sauce ingredients. So we've got a little fish sauce, which I'm going to add to the soy sauce here. We've got some maple syrup. Probably not common in Laos. They would use white sugar, but maple syrup is always my sweetener of choice. And a little heat, of course. You can add as much or as little sriracha as you want. And you can also add more to your own serving at plating time, so you don't have to overcommit at this point. So we're going to drizzle this on our chicken. There we go, and we'll give it a little stir. And this is one of the great make-ahead parts of this dish. You could cook the meat anytime and freeze it if you want, or it could be refrigerated for up to 3 days. So it's one of those meals that you can kind of have in your back pocket, even if you're not sure what day you're going to serve it. There, we're just going to let this get a tiny bit more heat. And now we'll get some of our other ingredients ready. I like to add a little bit of Thai chili pepper to mine, and the way that I do it to avoid getting the seeds in there is to just cut strips along the outside. This pepper's a little soft, but there we go. And that way all the seeds stay on the inside, but you get the medium spiciness of the pepper this way. So I'm not going to add too much heat because I don't feel like a real spicy kick today. But again, you can do as much or as little as you want. You can also cut the pieces as fine as you want so that people don't bite into big pieces, whatever your preference is. We're going to stir those in. Just a nice little bit of color in there. And when we go to assemble our bowls, we're going to have a wedge of lime to squeeze over top. So I'm just going to cut that and get that ready. Then we'll talk about how the dish is usually prepared or served versus what I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn this off now. I think the meat is ready. And we'll just put a lid on it to keep it warm. And like most food from Asia, lots of fresh herbs. So that's part of the reason why I love that cuisine so much. And we're just going to give them a very coarse chop, and then we'll put them back on the plate. We have mint and basil and cilantro, kind of the holy trinity of the flavor profile for countries like Laos and Thailand and so on. You could add in green onions if you wanted. That would be delicious with this dish. I've got pickled red onion instead, which I prefer for the flavor for this one. It just pops a little bit more than the green onions, which are pretty mild. There's our herbs. And to pickle the red onion, all I did was heat up some rice wine vinegar and mixed about 2 tablespoons of that with a tablespoon of water and poured it over my onions about 10 minutes ago. And that just gives them a little extra briny flavor that I find goes really well with the meat. Now, normally you would scoop meat into a lettuce leaf like this and eat it as is. Some people in Laos like to add rice first and then the meat to the lettuce, and that's all great, but I really like meals in a bowl. I find that they just look so pretty and they're so pleasant to eat. So I'm going to do bowl rather than something I would eat out of hand. So we're going to have our hot cooked rice, and the rice isn't necessarily something you'll see everywhere in Laos, but I like it because it makes this dish more substantial. You have to eat a lot of lettuce and a lot of meat to get filled up without the rice. I'm going to choose to put the pickled onion on next because I want it snuggled under the meat. So we're just going to scatter that over the top. And now we'll get our meat portion here. And it's up to you how much you want. I would probably actually have 2 of these bowls if I was really, really hungry. If I wanted just a single serving, probably 2 scoops of meat would do it for me. Wow, I just love the way this looks. And now we're going to scatter our herbs over top and kind of around the side. You want to still be able to see what's underneath, so if you completely cover it, it's not quite so pretty. And then we're going to give it a nice big squeeze of lime. And our larb is ready. This is best enjoyed warm. I have had it at room temperature and it's equally delicious. The meat is super portable, so if you cook it ahead, as I mentioned before, then it's easy to get to your destination. You can even reheat rice that's pre-made, heat the meat, and then people can be ready to serve up their larb bowls. Hope you give it a try. I adore Asian-inspired foods as they offer such bright flavors. Next up is a recipe inspired by the food of Thailand, and it's a great way to use up leftover cooked chicken.
Welcome to Community News and Events on Rogers TV, Channel 22. I'm Josh Rackless. The Woodruff United Church Bazaar is a community highlight each fall. This year's event takes place on Saturday, October 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The church welcomes donations of crafts, jewelry, books, linens, toys, and gently used goods, so stop harshly using your goods. On Bazaar Day, visitors can browse a wide variety of treasures and even enjoy a lunch counter offering homemade treats. It's a warm, welcoming event where community spirit and bargain hunting go hand in hand, which is perfect for someone like me who has no friends. From knitted goods to furniture, there's something for everyone. And best of all, parking is free, so maybe I'll just sit in the parking lot and wave to people and make friends. Anyways, visit woodruffunited.org or scan the QR code on the screen for full details. To have your community news or events listed on our website, please go to rogerstv.com, click on events, and post your event. That's it. What, no QR code for Rogers? Oh well.
Join me, holistic chef Daniela Croco, for season 4 of Simply Cooking by Chef, right here on Rogers TV.
Are you a passionate content creator ready to expand your audience reach? Do you have unique stories, captivating hobbies, or special interests that deserve a spotlight? Rogers TV is here to amplify your voice within the community. We offer you the platform to broadcast your content to a wider audience. And the best part, it's completely free. Don't miss this opportunity to share your vision and engage with viewers. Find out how Rogers TV can transform your content journey today.
Paula Roy's Favorite Foods is made possible with the help of Farm Boy. It's all about the food.
If you're like me and you like stocking up on meat when it's on sale, here's a tip for storing it a little bit more efficiently. To prevent freezer burn, pack it into zippered food storage bags, obviously label it and date it, and you can stack them flat in your freezer and put a whole bunch in there. You can also use silicone food storage bags as well. I'm excited to share with you this Thai-inspired chicken and mango salad with a peanut vinaigrette. It's got so much flavor and color. It's a dish that just wows people every time I serve it. And it kind of borrows from a few different salads, kind of a coleslaw thing, just all kinds of great ingredients to make one beautiful bowl. So we're going to start, as always, with making our vinaigrette. I've mixed together some rice vinegar and peanut butter here in this jar. I'm going to shake up the vinaigrette in that jar. I'm going to add some maple syrup, not a lot because the peanut butter brings a certain sweetness. Again, not a typical Asian ingredient. They would go with probably granulated or white sugar, but I prefer maple syrup. We've got some olive oil. You could use canola oil, avocado oil, whatever your neutral oil of choice might be. A little bit of sesame oil. And finally, some soy sauce. The penultimate, not the ultimate ingredient, the final is some minced ginger. And we'll just give that a good shake. Oh, nearly forgot the heat. Can't forget the heat. Sriracha. And to your preference, I put in probably about a half a teaspoon. That I think is going to work for my family. Okay. Have to shake a little more vigorously than for some vinaigrettes to make sure the peanut butter gets mixed in, but you can tell just by looking at the jar. So it's still a little peanutty there, so we'll just shake it a little bit more. That looks good to me. Whoa, goodness, that looks good to me. Glad I didn't crack that bowl. Okay, so we'll set this aside. And now we'll start to assemble the salad ingredients. So our base is shredded cabbage. I find that I make probably 3 or 4 cabbage recipes in a row when I do buy a cabbage, and then we take a break from it, but I'm always looking for new ways to use it so that no cabbage goes to waste when I do purchase one. Julienne red pepper, sliced English cuke, and grated carrot. Look at the colors in that bowl. That's just fantastic. And now we've got some shredded chicken, about 1.5 cups. This would be a great way to use up leftover rotisserie chicken if you had some. The bit of seasoning they put on it wouldn't interfere because the dressing has such good flavor. I just poached a chicken breast in some water with a bit of rice vinegar added to it. Took about 8 or 9 minutes until it was 165 Fahrenheit. Let it cool, and then I was able to shred it with ease. So we'll give this a little toss before we add in our remaining ingredients and then add our dressing. We have some muted onions, I'll call them. They're actually just sliced red onions, but I put ice water on them, and that takes the bite out of them while they still maintain their flavor. So it's different than pickling them, which you've probably seen me do on other episodes. I don't want that pickle element in here because I think it might fight with the dressing. This is about, I would say, 1/2 cup of onions. So we'll put most of them on there. There we go. The herbs and the peanuts we're going to add later. My favorite element is the mango. I just love mango, and I've learned some tricks about how to slice it that make things a little easier. So obviously I've peeled it. You want a mango that's ripe but not overripe. If it's too soft, it's going to be really hard to cut it into little pieces. So this one, when I was peeling it, I could find one spot where it was a little soft, but the rest is pretty good. So a mango pit is like a flat oval in the middle. And purportedly the shape of paisley, which is used in fabric patterns, is based on the shape of a mango pit. So we're going to slice, knowing that pit, that flat pit is in the middle. If we slice it this way, we're avoiding the pit for the most part, and we can do that, these big slices on 2 sides. And then we can do slices on the short sides. I was really happy when a chef taught me this trick because I was kind of hacking at my mangoes haphazardly and not maximizing the nice big slices that I wanted to get. And whenever I cut a mango, I always hang on to what I didn't cut, and you'll find me over the sink eating it like a squirrel or something. I just can't let all this delicious mango flesh go to waste. So this is about the amount that we want. And we're just going to slice it into what they call a julienne, so matchstick sort of slices. And it's pretty easy to do when you've got nice uniform slices to stack up like this. I'm going to cut them crosswise to make them a bit more bite size. Daring mid-air transfer. I could move the bowl closer, but what's the fun in that? And we'll do these big pieces, and then we'll do the little pieces. Surprisingly, quite a few people are allergic to mangoes, so that might be something you want to investigate before you serve this to people, or at least forewarn them there are mangoes in there. These last few little bits. Now, as you saw, I had the veggies prepped ahead of time. The mango you can't really slice ahead of time, and the chicken was prepped ahead of time. Once you've added the mango, the salad needs to be consumed fairly promptly because it just starts to get kind of soggy. Okay. Wow, that's just one more great color in this bowl. So we're just going to work the mango in a little bit, and then we're very carefully going to add our dressing and give it a toss. So we'll give this another shake. And obviously, anytime you see peanut in a recipe, you could use cashew instead, or you could use a non-nut butter, like there's soy butters and so on. You would get the same wonderful texture of dressing without having nuts in there. And I like to underdress my salads and put the rest on the table for people to add to their plates. But we do want to make sure all the elements get a little bit of dressing here in the bowl. All right, so I can see the chicken's got some dressing on it, mango, the cabbage and the carrots, peppers, cukes. I think we're good. So for topping, the favorite herbs from Asia, especially Thailand and Laos and so on, it is cilantro, mint, and basil once again. So just like using up a cabbage when I buy it, I try and think about the dishes I'm going to make when I buy fresh herbs so that they don't go to waste before they spoil. If I really can't use them up, then I chop them, and if it's a sweet herb like mint, I freeze them in water in ice cube trays. If it's basil or cilantro, I freeze them in oil, and then I can add them to a soup or a stew or whatever. The cubes are just right there. A few peanuts for our garnish, or cashews as you prefer. And our Thai-inspired mango and chicken salad with peanut vinaigrette is finished.
When people think of ribs, they often think about preparing them on the barbecue. My next recipe is going to show you how easy and delicious ribs baked in the oven can be.
Welcome to Community News and Events on Rogers TV, Channel 22. I'm Khadija Abdinor. The Super Saturdays program returns to the main branch of the Ottawa Public Library on Saturday, November 8th at 2 p.m., continuing weekly until December 13th. This drop-in, family-friendly event offers a variety of activities for children and caregivers. You'll find crafts, movies, and STEM-inspired projects. The program encourages hands-on learning in a relaxed, welcoming environment. No registration is required, though attendees are advised to arrive a little early to secure space and fully enjoy the engaging activities. Programs are available in both English and French. Your family's Saturdays just got even more super. Visit biblioottawalibrary.ca or scan the QR code on the screen for more details. To have your community news or events listed on our website, please go to rogerstv.com, click on events, and post your event. That's it.
Just like any other job, to succeed in the NHL, you gotta take care of business.
You need to know how to motivate fellow employees. Come on, boys! It's important to be goal-oriented.
Assist team members whenever possible. Always put the customer first.
Listen to this builder. This place can't believe what they just saw.
Hey, beats a desk job.
What's wrong with a desk job?
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Paula Roy's Favorite Foods is made possible with the help of Farm Boy. It's all about the food.
If you like the recipes that I'm showcasing on Paula Roy's Favorite Foods on Rogers TV, I invite you to check out my website, Constantly Cooking. There you'll find over 1,200 tried and tested recipes that are sure to appeal to both new and serious cooks alike. I recipe, easy oven baked ribs. It could be the no barbecue, no problem recipe as well. These ribs are so delicious. They're our favorite way to make them in the winter, especially when it's a bit too cold to be out at the grill for a couple hours to make perfect ribs. And I think you'll really like the flavor in here. So we're gonna start by getting the sauce ready for the ribs. It's a very straightforward one. My mom used to make something similar, and I just kind of punched it up for modern palates, as I like to do with classic recipes. A little bit of diced onion never hurts with ribs. I think I'm just going to do half. I think that'll be enough. And just make sure the pieces are pretty small. And you'll see I have just one rack of ribs to fit in an 8x8 pan. You can absolutely do multiple racks. You just need to make sure you have a pan big enough to hold them, or you can divide them over multiple pans. If you do that, you might need to make, if it's 2 racks of ribs in 2 pans, you might need to make 2.5 times the sauce, just to make sure that they're covered. So ketchup and onions to start. Then we've got some brown sugar. With ribs, you usually want some sweetness because that helps the glaze really stick to the ribs as it cooks down. And cider vinegar, you could use rice vinegar if you prefer. I wouldn't recommend white vinegar. I think it's going to be a bit too harsh. I have some powdered mustard. Amazingly, I've met several people with mustard allergies, so that's something to be aware of. If you don't have powdered mustard, you could put in a half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard or a full teaspoon of yellow, what they call ballpark style mustard. Some generous shakes of Worcestershire sauce. I really like this for the flavor it adds to so many different savory dishes. I'm going to put in about a tablespoon. And it's a way to avoid adding salt and pepper because there is some salt in there. And liquid smoke. This is something I didn't know about until maybe 15 years ago. You use it very sparingly, probably 2 or 3 drops is all I'm going to put in, but it gives dishes that really beautiful barbecue, especially charcoal or wood cooked taste and aroma. Just pouring ever so carefully because it doesn't have a shaker top. There we go. That was probably a 1/16 of a teaspoon, and that's just right. And last but not least, half a cup of water, excuse me, same quantity as the ketchup. So we're gonna give that a stir. And you just wanna make sure everything is nicely mixed, especially the brown sugar and the ketchup, so you don't have kind of clumps of it when you pour it over the ribs. That's perfect. And this could be made ahead of time and refrigerated, no problem. You might want to just give it a quick shot in the microwave, or placing this in a bowl of hot water so that it is pourable if it's thickened in the fridge. So now on to our ribs. I did not know this when I was growing up, and it's been a real game changer for me. We have a rack of baby back ribs. I love them because they're lean and they're not too big, but there's a membrane on the bottom. And if you cook it with the membrane on, the bottom side of the rib is going to be tough and just not appealing to eat. So the trick to taking it off is to just, excuse me, slice against the bone at either end. You can even just see it's almost like peeling paper. It's amazing. And we're just going to cut through that. And then you take a piece of paper towel. It's really hard to do with your bare hands. I'm trying to do this so you can see it. And you unzip the membrane. And it's such a game changer for how well and tender the ribs end up, how well they cook and how tender they end up. So I'm just going to, I see I missed a spot here where it tore. So we're going to go back again. This happens often. That's why I had 2 paper towels. And I've seen pros do it on YouTube. They can do 5 racks in about 10 seconds. Not a pro here, but I do the best I can. And it's okay if you miss a few spots, but you want to try and get most of it off. There, I'm very happy with that. So now I'm just going to give my hands a little wipe because I don't want them to slip on the knife. And we're going to cut the ribs into segments. It's easiest to do this from the bone side because you can see the breaks between the bones. And what I like about back ribs, not only do they tend to be more lean and smaller in size, they are, I find, a little bit easier to cut. Sometimes you'll get a wonky bit at the end, and that's just from the shape of the animal, and I'm just going to leave that one as is because I can't see a good spot to cut it. So one of the things that I love about this recipe is you can put the ribs and the sauce in your pan and actually freeze it just like that for future cooking. And I just tried that for the first time maybe a year ago, and I couldn't believe how great they turned out. They were exactly the same as if they'd been freshly prepared. So that's been a real cottage staple for me when we get invited to a cottage. It's like, I'll bring ribs. So we're going to snuggle them into the pan, try and get them as close together as you can, but with a little gap, if that makes any sense, because you want the sauce to get down around them. And one average sized set of back ribs is perfect for an 8x8 pan. I'm going to tuck this little weirdo over there and put this one here. There we go. One more wash of the hands. And now we put our sauce on. So I like to bake these for about 2 to 2.5 hours at about 325 Fahrenheit. If you need to play around with the time and do them a little bit faster, you can increase the heat, or if you want them to go low and slow, you can decrease it. They're done when the internal temperature is about 145 to 150 Fahrenheit, and the ribs look all beautifully glazed and caramelized. So now my last step is to take my spatula, and I want to get the onions down in between the ribs. They will burn on top if they're sitting up out of the sauce as the sauce evaporates and cooks down. So it's a lot easier to enjoy the onions if you get them off the ribs and down into the sauce. I have tried cutting the onions and just sprinkling them in between the ribs in the pan, and I decided that it was too much of a nuisance, so this is my preferred method. So if you can see onions but they're sitting in sauce between the ribs, then they're just fine. And this is also the chance to make sure the sauce has gotten between each rib in the pan, because they're kind of self-glazing. You don't have to baste them or anything as they're cooking. So that's why you want the sauce all around. So these are ready to either go into the fridge and suspend for up to 24 hours or freeze them. It takes about, I didn't really check, 6 or 8 hours probably for them to freeze solid. You can lift them out of the pan and into a food storage container, make sure it's airtight, and then cover it up back into the fridge for up to 3 months, or slide it into your preheated oven and wait for the magic to happen. I'll show you what they look like when they're done in just a moment. Our ribs are cooked out of the oven now. I've put them on this plate. I cannot believe how good they smell. I know I say that a lot when I'm on air, but really they're just so fantastic. The sauce is delicious. We love to enjoy these with baked potatoes. Split them open, scoop the sauce onto them, and make sure you have plenty of napkins because this is a great messy meal.
Nothing beats having a meal in the fridge all ready to finish later that day or even the next day. I hope you'll consider pre-prepping my tasty Laotian larb bowl, easy oven-baked ribs, or Thai-inspired chicken salad the next time you want to feel super organized.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
This week on Canada Files, award-winning journalist Brian Stewart. He's reported from 10 war zones from El Salvador to Afghanistan and woke up the world to the famine in Ethiopia.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. In 2008, carbon monoxide, a deadly invisible gas, killed an entire family in our province. That tragedy led to a new law